So I want to thank you for hosting this. I think for me, it's been very educational. Jay, if you're still with us, I can't see you. Probably the best master class I've ever been given in such a short time frame. Absolutely wonderful presentation, and everyone has added here. Also, I want to make it very clear, this is bipartisan, okay? And that's that is the primary reason why I'm here, okay? Because I want to show, and Shelty, you know that, because we met in I think it was in February before all the lockdown nonsense for Julian Assange. That's a conservative position as well, okay? And it's not aired as much. And I'm constantly telling people that I can reach across the aisle, and I'm so grateful that people do cross back to me, okay? So I compliment you all. Caleb brought up kind of stole a little bit of my wind. I'm not very happy about that. But he's right. This is always presented as being complicated. And it was a few months ago, we were all on Crosstalk discussing a possible Biden foreign policy. And we had kind of a typical talking head from the Democratic Party. Television can be a bit monotonous because you kind of have to create these scarecrow arguments, and I don't like it that way because it's always more complex. And so I was asking the Democrat, and she came out with the usual thing. Well, it's complicated, and I just interrupted and said, "No, it's wrong. It's simple. It's just wrong." Okay. It's just simply wrong. And one of the times, and I got a lot of commentary, and not always very nice. We did a program specifically on Yemen. I think I'm the only, outside of Al Jazeera because of its regional interest, but I don't think any other program in the English language had more programs on Yemen than Crosstalk, okay? And we had a Saudi spokesperson, Ahmed, I remember him very well. And I just wouldn't let him go. I just kept going out. I actually kind of pushed the other guests aside and I said, why are you pursuing this war? And what does victory mean? And of course, as you've all mentioned, like it's Iran, and all this, and Saudi Arabia's in the G20. And it's like, okay, but how does that justify your war? Okay. And of course he stumbled all over himself. He made a fool out of himself essentially. And I was just unrelenting. And I heard later that one of his producers, because he was part of some kind of media organization in Riyadh, communicated with my people. And basically, I'm going to make a formal complaint to the Russian Foreign Ministry. And I sent it back through the chain. I said, go ahead and tell them that I could argue your case better than you can. Okay. And this is what shows the laziness of mind and the lack of any kind of moral clarity. Is that, they get away with their narratives. It's complicated. No, it's not. It's simply wrong. And one of the things that's we always say awareness, but particularly in this case here, because we have so much media control right now. And I'm really lucky in our discussion. I get to mention one word that hasn't been mentioned yet. And I'm a little bit surprised. Raytheon. What you're talking about ruling classes? What about the people? The ruling classes are in their pocket. Okay, who do we have coming on board? Oh, Lloyd Austin. Well, he hasn't even been confirmed yet. He's still on Raytheon's board. Okay, let's look at Raytheon. In 2015, its share price was $108. Now it is $180 as of 2019. No, it's not the ruling elites that are going to be deciding things here. Most of them are too mediocre and incompetent. Okay, and they do this, and it's already been mentioned here. Blame Bush, blame Obama, blame Trump. Yeah, well, this is what they do because they don't really know what they're doing, except for their friends are making a whole lot of money. Oh, and when they're out of government, they're going to go over to Raytheon too. Okay, this is how it works. It's very, very simple. Okay, and the whole concept of international law, which all of us hold very dear here. And George, George and I, we need to plug it. We have our own YouTube channel, The Gaggle, which George and I do every single day, except for today, for some reason. We always are stressing international law because international law, well, that should apply to everyone. No, it applies to everybody else except for us. Look at British media. Look at American media. How often is international law mentioned? It doesn't really exist. It doesn't exist. And even if I were to or argued these things on American television, on Fox or on CNN, they wouldn't have a clue what I was talking about. They really wouldn't. And going back to, I like this term, this glossy propaganda. And this is exactly what it is, because as has already been said here, there's no justification for this conflict whatsoever. It is not justified. Now, Caleb is absolutely right. I mean, it's because of America's obsession with Iran, obsession with it. George and I were brought up with it, okay? And so this is how Yemen is always mentioned. And it mentions, going back to Jay's presentation, and Jota yourself giving the introduction here, leaves out so many other things. And so what I will do, and I will continue to do, and this is such a wonderful a bullpen for guests for my program, Crosstalk. I'm very happy about that. What we need to do is pursue it. Now, people have said, Biden, no, forget Biden, okay? Think of Blinken, okay? He's got blood on his hands all the way up to his shoulders on this, okay? And when he says the Biden administration will not support, what in your news speak, what does support mean? Okay, I don't take you at your word, because you're all liars, okay? All of them are. Now, we'll have to take it step by step. But, Anthony Blinken is going to have to talk to Raytheon, okay? And Raytheon's going to talk to Joe. And I don't think Joe's going to resist very much here. So what I worry about, I'm very pessimistic here. I'm very pessimistic, particularly as it has been very rightly pointed out, when there's a balance of force that is out of whack, Israel will intervene. Now, there is one thing that hasn't been mentioned here, and I take it very, very seriously, and I'm not prone to hyperbole. The end of Saudi Arabia, that is in the cards right now. It is in the cards. And all I can say to the people of Yemen, hang on, because when, everyone, I remember so clearly the Cold War, will we ever have a conflict in the United States versus the Soviet Union, the Western Bloc, the Soviet Bloc, and all that? No, one gave up. And Saudi Arabia is aiming or moving in the direction of a failed state. And with the attack on the Aramco facilities, it tells us everything we need to know. They are extremely vulnerable, and that is why we had the deal of the century with the Arab states recognizing Israel. What a crock! What a crock! The way it's been sold to us in the media. That was, Trump wanted to get out of these wars. He failed. I'll give him this. He tried. Okay, but I don't like losers. Okay, he failed. All right. So his deal of the century, you know what it did? It just entrenched the United States even deeper, even longer in the Middle East through arms deals. Everybody talks about, the diplomatic end of it. That is a facade. Look at the fine print. Look at the fine print. Okay, this has everything to do with creating an alliance against Iran, and this is a justification for their continued assault on Yemen, because they believe this nonsense. Look, there was hardly any, if zero, Iranian influence in Yemen before all of this. Okay, and with, as Caleb rightly pointed out, with the blockade in force like it is, I seriously doubt there's much aid. Maybe comfort, yes, but aid, I very much doubt here. So I think we have to look at some really big, major changes going on in the Middle East. And who knows, it may be Yemen is the one that will break the proverbial camel's back. Okay, because I think it's in the cards here. Saudi Arabia is in a mess financially. It's in a mess. It spends like a drunken sailor, and it continues to pay off all of the people that will talk good about it. I've always said on Crosstalk, my guests, particularly from the West, they say very, very little about Israel. They never say a word about Saudi Arabia. That's how powerful their money is in the halls of power here. So to make a sum up, I learned so much from this panel. I really did, and I'm really glad I participated in it. Is that we have to hold together and show this to people. And if people watch this, you can't deny you didn't know. And I think we need to shame people, shame our friends if we have to, shame our family members if we have to. Watch this. You cannot deny what's going on. And once you understand that, you have to say something. You have to say something and even act, okay? This is a righteous cause, and we have to continue opening people's eyes to it. Because if we don't, we're complicit. Jyoti, you did a wonderful job. Thank you.